Welcome to English Speak Pulse. I'm Danielle, your English fluency guide, and today, I want to ask you something simple. Have you ever listened to someone speak English so effortlessly that it almost felt unfair? You think, they make it sound so easy. How do they do it? And then you look at yourself, trying to translate every word, hesitating before every sentence, and you wonder, why can't I sound like that?
Hi everyone. I'm Sarah, a communication and fluency coach, and I've met hundreds of learners who felt exactly like that. They studied grammar for years, memorized hundreds of words, watched English movies, but still couldn't speak fluently. The truth is, fluency isn't about knowing English. It's about living it.
Exactly. And in this episode, we'll reveal what truly separates fluent English speakers from those who keep struggling, and how you can cross that gap faster than you think.
Because once you understand the real process of learning English, the one that schools never teach, you'll realize that fluency isn't far away at all. It's right there, waiting for you to claim it.
So stay with us, because by the end of this episode, you'll know exactly how to learn and speak English fluently, even if you've failed before.
Welcome to the deep dive. This one. Well, this is for you if you've ever felt that really frustrating thing where, you can read English, you get movies, the grammar kind of makes sense, but then you try to speak.
And it all just freezes up.
Exactly. Your brain just hits a wall, mouth doesn't work.
It's this weird paradox, right? And honestly, millions of learners feel it. They think, oh, I need more words or maybe more complex grammar.
Right, the usual suspects.
But what we're diving into today, looking at the research and experience, suggests the real block isn't technical at all. It's not the apps, not the flashcards.
Okay.
It's the most powerful thing. Your mindset. How you think about English dictates pretty much everything. Your speed, your comfort.
So let's jump right into that, because it sounds like what you're saying is getting fluent isn't just, learning a language. It's more like a mental transformation.
That's a great way to put it. It is a mental transformation. Because if you walk into a conversation thinking, okay, I'm a student, I'm going to mess this up, I'm nervous, well, you will. You'll hesitate. You'll overthink.
You'll freeze, like we said.
Yeah. But if you can mentally shift, even a little, and think, okay, I'm a speaker, maybe not perfect, but I'm here to communicate confidently, it actually changes how you perform right there, in the moment.
Wow. Okay, so it's less about the vocabulary list and more about who you think you are when you start talking.
Precisely.
Which means we absolutely have to tackle the biggest, the most common belief that holds people back, that big one.
The perfection myth.
Yes. The idea that fluency means you have to be perfect. No mistakes.
It's such a damaging idea, and it's everywhere, isn't it? Language courses, our own inner critic, it hammers this idea that perfect is the only goal.
And it's just flat out wrong when we looked at what fluency actually means.
Yeah.
It's never zero mistakes. It's about expressing yourself, smoothly, comfortably.
It's about flow. That's the key word.
Yeah.
Maintaining the flow of communication.
Okay, flow, not flawlessness.
Exactly. And just think about native speakers for a second. Us. We make mistakes all the time.
Oh, definitely. Grammar slips, wrong words.
We use fillers. We might stumble over a word if we're talking fast. But does the conversation screech to a halt?
No, usually not. You just kind of keep going. Maybe correct yourself, maybe not even notice.
Right. The flow continues. The aim is keeping that channel open between your thought and your voice, even if there's a bit of, static.
Okay, that makes sense for native speakers. But why is it so different for learners? Why does tripping over one word feel like a catastrophe? That pressure seems immense.
Because the pressure isn't really about the language itself. It's social pressure. It's that voice inside saying, what if I sound stupid? What if they judge me? What if they can't understand me and give up?
Ah, that internal editor.
That's the wall. It's this layer of anxiety that makes you triple check every word before it dares leave your mouth, which of course kills any chance of flow.
So the real breakthrough isn't mastering the past perfect continuous.
Definitely not.
The breakthrough is an internal decision. It's deciding, you know what? It's okay if I make mistakes. I'm still going to talk.
That is the fundamental attitude shift.
Yeah.
That's where fluency starts.
And that changes the whole point, doesn't it? The goals shift.
Completely. You stop aiming for perfect sentences and start aiming for successful communication.
Yeah.
Did the other person get your idea? Did you connect?
Right. Because honestly, when you're talking to someone, you care if you understand their message, not if Their sentence structure was textbook perfect.
Exactly. Connection over correction.
Connection over correction. I like that. It's about people, not about passing a grammar test.
Precisely.
Okay, so goal redefined. Communication, not perfection. Now let's really get into the nitty-gritty of that fear. The fear of mistakes. It came up again and again as the absolute biggest fluency killer.
It's the core of that classic problem. I understand everything, but I just can't speak.
Yeah.
The knowledge is in there somewhere, but the fear of getting it wrong feels heavier,
Yeah.
riskier than just saying something. So the fear basically puts a chokehold on your voice.
I totally get that. I remember trying to order a coffee once years ago in another language, and I needed like a specific kind of milk, and I just blanked on the word, completely froze.
Oh, yeah.
I felt so stupid. I think I avoided ordering anything slightly complicated for weeks after that. How do we stop that from happening, that paralysis?
We have to change how we see mistakes, fundamentally. Think about anyone who speaks fluently now. Anyone.
Okay.
Every single one of them, guaranteed, was once a beginner making thousands upon thousands of errors.
Right. Nobody starts perfect.
Mistakes aren't your enemy. They're not proof of failure. They are. Well, they're data. They're proof you're trying, you're engaging. They are literally your teachers.
Mistakes are teachers.
Yeah.
That's powerful because the alternative is staying silent.
Silence teaches you nothing. Your brain learns zero when you clam up to avoid an error. But when you speak, and maybe you stumble, maybe you use the wrong word, your brain immediately goes, whoops, okay, not that. And that little whoops, that correction, that's how you build stronger pathways. That's how fluency actually gets built, through the trying and the messing up.
So the practical thing here is it's psychological. Next time you make a mistake in conversation, don't cringe inwardly.
No.
Acknowledge it, maybe even mentally say, cool, learned something just now because I tried.
Exactly. Reframe it instantly. It takes the sting out. It turns what felt like a failure into a successful learning moment, which it actually is.
Okay, reframing mistakes. Got it. But here's something else that feels backward. The confidence paradox. We're always told, get confident, then you can do the hard thing.
Right. I'll speak more when I feel more confident.
Yeah.
And if you wait for that magical confidence fairy to arrive before you speak, you'll be waiting a very, very long time, possibly forever. Because the confidence you want, it doesn't come before speaking. It comes from speaking. It's a result, not a prerequisite.
Like learning to swim. You don't read books about buoyancy until you feel confident enough to get in the pool.
Exactly. You feel awkward, you splash around, maybe swallow some water.
Definitely swallow some water.
But that action, that flailing, that's what builds the confidence. The awkwardness is just the entry fee.
So we need to stop that internal voice saying, I'm not ready yet.
We have to silence it through action, flip the whole script. Stop waiting for fluency to magically give you confidence. Start taking action, speaking, to build the confidence that will then make fluency come faster.
Okay, so the mantra changes. It's not, I'll speak when I'm ready.
No, it's speaking is what makes me ready.
Speaking is what makes me ready. That shifts everything. It's not a performance anymore. It's training. Necessary practice.
Exactly.
All right. Now, let's talk about putting this into practice day to day. You mentioned shifting the relationship with English, treating it less like a subject, more like a friend.
Yeah, that relationship shift is surprisingly powerful. Think about it. Subject implies tests, studying, pressure, maybe even boredom or frustration.
Grammar charts late at night.
Right. But your native language,
Yeah.
you don't study it in the same way. You live in it. It's how you tell jokes, share feelings, complain about your day. It's part of your life.
Okay, so how do we make English feel less like a textbook and more like, well, like a part of life? How does that change things practically?
It shifts the focus from, am I doing this perfectly, to, am I connecting? Am I enjoying this interaction? So instead of always thinking, I'm learning English, try a small mental tweak. I'm living English.
I'm living English.
It sounds small, but it reframes your daily interactions. Listening to music isn't study, it's enjoyment. Watching a show isn't a test, it's relaxing. It lowers the stakes.
And that connects to building an English identity, right? Starting to actually see yourself as someone who speaks English.
Absolutely. That's a huge accelerator. The moment you genuinely start to think, okay, I am an English speaker, this is one of my tools now, your brain kind of catches up. Your confidence aligns with that identity.
You don't have to sound like you were born in London or New York.
Not at all. You just need to sound like you, communicating effectively in English.
And crucially, to protect that emerging identity, You got to stop comparing.
How comparison is the thief of joy, especially in language learning.
Right. Don't look at the person who's been studying for 10 years or the news anchor.
No, the only valid comparison is you yesterday versus you today. Did you understand a bit more today? Did you dare to say one sentence you were scared to say yesterday?
Okay. So if yesterday I said one sentence and today I managed 3, even if they weren't perfect?
That's massive progress. Celebrate that. That's real growth in your actual ability and confidence.
Okay, so identity and celebrating small wins. How do we weave this into daily life? Consistency feels key, but finding big chunks of time is hard for everyone.
And you don't need huge chunks. That's another myth. We need reliable, frequent touch points. Consistency is about making English feel normal, part of the furniture of your day.
Not something foreign or special you have to schedule in.
Exactly. Your brain needs that regular small contact to build strong pathways. 15 minutes every single day is far, far better than, say, 2 hours crammed in once a week.
Why is that exactly? Is it a brain thing?
It totally is. It's about memory consolidation. If you only use English sporadically, the brain pathways are kind of weak, hard to access quickly, especially under pressure.
Okay.
But daily exposure, even short bursts, signals to your brain, hey, this stuff is important, keep it handy. It moves it to active memory, and the more you use it, the faster retrieval gets.
That makes so much sense. So those daily touch points, what are some easy ways to start living English without adding like a whole new 2-hour chore to the day?
Integrate it into what you already do. Simple stuff. Listen to an English podcast while you're making breakfast or commuting.
Okay.
Repeat a few sentences out loud from something you heard while you're, brushing your teeth. It sounds silly, but it gets your mouth moving. Practices the physical act.
And what about that internal chatter, thinking in English?
It's huge. Talk to yourself in English about your plans for the day while you're getting ready. Before bed, mentally review your day, but do it in English. What went well? What was annoying?
So you're processing your actual life and emotions in the language.
Yes. That makes it feel really integral, not just academic.
And the environment stuff helps too, right? Like changing your phone language.
Oh, definitely. Those little nudges matter. Change your phone, your computer maybe. Follow creators you actually like who speak English. Join online groups about your hobbies, knitting, gaming, cooking, whatever, where people chat in English.
Make it unavoidable, almost.
Kind of.
Yeah.
The goal is just to make it feel like a normal, natural part of your world, not like homework you have to force yourself to do.
And while doing all this, the practice, the courage, we have to remember to focus on the positive, right? We're so good at noticing what we can't do yet.
That's pure self-sabotage.
Yeah.
You have to consciously, actively celebrate the wins, even tiny ones. Like, did you manage a 3-minute chat today when last week you would have panicked and run away?
Yeah.
Celebrate that. Did you finally use that new phrase correctly? High five yourself.
Seriously, like actually celebrate.
Yes, mentally or even out loud. Your brain needs that reward signal. When it feels good about the effort, it stays motivated. It learns that trying, even imperfectly, leads to positive feelings, which helps override the fear.
Okay. Belief, courage, consistency, celebrating wins. If we boil this whole mental shift down, what's the core formula we want people to take away?
I'd call it the mental formula for fluency. It really rests on 3 pillars that make all the difference. First, belief. Truly believing I can learn this, and I'm an English speaker starting now.
Okay, belief.
Second, courage. The willingness to say, I'm going to speak even if I make mistakes, because I know mistakes are how I learn.
Courage. Makes sense.
And third, consistency. Committing to, I'll do a little something every day to make English a normal part of my life.
Belief, courage, consistency. And you're saying if someone really focuses on those 3 mindset elements, the fluency, the confidence, the flow, it sort of takes care of itself.
It rises automatically because you've removed the biggest barrier, that internal judge, that impossible demand for perfection right now.
Wow. It really does shift the focus. Fluency doesn't start in the mouth.
Or the grammar book. It starts in your mind. Once your mind truly accepts that you are capable, that you are a speaker, your voice finds a way to follow.
From passive learning to active identity, that's powerful. And thinking about this, it goes way beyond just learning English. We've talked about how fluency starts in the mind and how that fear of imperfection is beaten by courage and consistency. So here's a final thought for you listening. Where else in your life, outside of language, might that same fear of not being perfect be holding you back? And what could happen if you applied that courage and consistency formula there too? Something to think about. Go start speaking or doing today.
Welcome back to the deep dive. Okay, so if you're learning a language, especially English, you've probably felt this, right? You spend ages memorizing grammar, cramming vocabulary, but then when you actually need to speak, it's like your brain just freezes up. It's super frustrating.
Oh, absolutely. It's a really common experience. And the core issue, well, it's fascinating, really. It's usually not about how smart you are or how much you know.
Right.
It's more that your study methods are kind of fighting against how your brain naturally wants to learn language. You've gathered facts, maybe, but you haven't built that automatic skill.
Okay, so that's what we're diving into today. We're looking at these sources to pull out the science and the psychology behind getting fluent faster. Basically, how to stop treating speaking like a test.
And start treating it like something natural, something automated.
Exactly. So we've gone through a lot of material and we've pulled out some, well, key truths about how this all works.
Yeah, we've kind of distilled them into core pillars, things that can genuinely shift how you approach learning.
All right, let's unpack this. And the very first one, it seems like it requires a pretty big mental shift for a lot of people.
It really does. The first fundamental truth is this. Your brain doesn't primarily learn language through conscious rules. That's probably the biggest inefficiency that adult learners bring to the table.
Which makes you wonder, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, think about how you learned your first language. As a baby, as a kid,
Yeah,
you didn't sit down with a grammar textbook, did you?
precisely. No way. You learned by, being surrounded by it, by listening,
Yeah.
by noticing patterns, imitating what you heard. It just sort of happened.
Your brain just soaked it up.
Exactly. The brain is fundamentally a pattern recognition machine. It's amazing at that. But it's actually pretty terrible at retrieving and applying abstract rules instantly, especially in the middle of a conversation.
Right. And that explains why, like, agonizing over, okay, wait, is it has or have here, third person singular? Why that feels so slow and clunky.
You're using the slow, analytical part of your brain for a job that needs to be fast, almost reflexive.
So the alternative is just exposure, flooding the system.
Yeah, pretty much. Instead of memorizing the rule for, say, the present perfect tense, you need to hear it used naturally, over and over.
So the sources gave examples like hearing things like, I've just finished my homework.
Or she's already gone to work.
We've never been there. Simple stuff you hear all the time.
Exactly. And after you hear enough of those patterns, those chunks, your brain starts to figure out the underlying system without you consciously thinking about the rule. It just starts to feel right. It clicks.
Okay, but for that clicking to happen, you need the raw material, right? You need something in your brain for it to work with.
Absolutely. Which brings us straight to the next key idea, the crucial role of input. Foundational fuel, as the sources call it.
Right. You simply cannot speak fluently if you haven't listened enough. It sounds obvious, but maybe it's overlooked. Insufficient listening seems like a huge barrier.
It is. Listening is what builds your internal English system. It's how your brain absorbs everything it needs, the rhythm, the intonation, the pronunciation, the common sentence structures, all of it.
I like the metaphor. One source used listening fills your English tank.
Yeah, it's a good one. And speaking is like drawing fuel from that tank. If the tank's near empty, well, you're not going anywhere fast. You'll stall.
So it's about surrounding yourself with English. And it doesn't always have to be intense study, right?
Not at all. Even passive listening helps. Having English radio on while you're driving or a podcast while you're cooking.
Or walking the dog.
Exactly. Your brain is still picking up on those patterns in the background. Subconsciously, it's absorbing things.
And then later, maybe when you're trying to speak, those patterns can just pop out.
Yeah.
Almost unexpectedly.
That's often how it works, yeah. It feels like magic, but it's just your brain doing its background processing thing, making connections.
Okay, so listening is huge. What about the other main type of input reading?
Reading is absolutely essential too. It's probably the best way to really grow your vocabulary. But, and this is a big but, we need to avoid that old trap of just memorizing word lists, isolated words.
Ah, the context principle.
Yeah.
Why is reading a story so much better than reading a dictionary entry?
Because our brains are wired for meaning and connection, not just dry data. Trying to memorize hesitate just as a word and definition, it's hard to make it stick.
Right.
But if you read it in a sentence like, she wanted to answer, but she hesitated for a moment. Now the word is linked to an action, maybe an emotion, a situation.
It has a place to live in your memory.
Exactly. It becomes more real, more accessible. So yeah, read stuff you actually find interesting, articles, stories, blogs, whatever. Focus on seeing how words work together in phrases.
Okay, that makes sense. Loads of input listening and reading in context.
Yeah.
but then you have to actually use it, right? Output.
Yes. And this is where many learners stumble. They treat speaking like it's a final exam. They overthink every single word.
Trying to get the grammar perfect before they even open their mouth.
They're so focused on retrieving the right rule, the correct word, that they completely lose the flow. But speaking isn't about perfect accuracy, especially at first. It's about communication, getting your message across.
But hang on, isn't there a risk there? If you start speaking too early, before you know the rules well, won't you just practice mistakes? Make bad habits permanent?
That's a really common concern, yeah. But actually, the sources suggest it's more beneficial to start early. Think about it like a physical skill, like, learning to drive stick shift.
Right.
At first, you're so conscious of every little thing, right? The clutch, the gear stick, the gas. It feels awkward, jerky.
Lots of stalling.
Exactly. But you don't get better by thinking about driving more. You get better by doing it. Through repetition, those actions become smooth, automatic. You don't even think about them anymore.
Right. It becomes a muscle memory. So fluency in language is like that. Linguistic muscle memory.
That's a great way to put it. Your first attempts at speaking might be slow, full of pauses, maybe some errors, but that repetition, that practice, is what trains your brain to make those connections faster and faster.
So the advice is, start speaking from day one, even if it's super simple.
Yes. Even just saying things like, today I am happy, or I like this music. The goal initially isn't perfect grammar, it's just flow, getting comfortable producing sounds and simple sentences.
Bridging that gap between thought and word directly in English.
Precisely. The faster you can do that, the closer you are to fluency.
Okay, so we need input, listening, reading, and we need output, speaking, writing. How do we balance them? Is there an ideal ratio?
Well, you definitely need both. Too much input without output, and you end up understanding a lot but still can't speak well, the classic passive knowledge problem.
And too much output without enough input.
Then you just feel frustrated, you keep hitting walls because you don't have enough language in your tank, you recycle the same few words and structures.
So finding that sweet spot, what do the sources recommend practically?
A rough guideline seems to be, for every hour of input you get, aim for at least, say, 20 to 30 minutes of active, deliberate output practice.
Deliberate practice. So not just chatting randomly, but focused effort.
Yeah, this is really key. It's the active part that turns that passive understanding into something you can actually use. For example, don't just watch an English video clip.
Okay, what then?
Watch it, sure. Maybe repeat a few key phrases you liked. But then, and this is crucial, pause it and try to summarize what you just saw or explain your reaction to it in your own words.
Ah, okay. So you're forcing yourself to retrieve and recombine the language actively.
Exactly. That's the kind of active training that really builds fluency. That repetition, using the language yourself, makes those connections in your brain stronger and faster, automatic.
Repetition builds fluency. That makes sense. Are there specific techniques for repetition that are particularly effective?
Yeah, a couple stand out. One is called shadowing.
Shadowing.
It means you listen to a native speaker and you try to repeat exactly what they're saying almost at the same time. You try to match their pronunciation, their rhythm, their intonation, even the emotion in their voice.
Wow, okay, so you're literally mimicking them in real time. That sounds challenging.
It can be at first, but it's incredibly powerful for training the physical aspect of speaking, getting your mouth muscles used to making English sound smoothly. It's like building that muscle memory we talked about.
Like a musician practicing scales, but for language.
Exactly. And another related idea is chunking.
Chunking, you mean learning phrases instead of single words?
Precisely. Don't just learn individual words in isolation. Focus on learning and repeating common, useful phrases, chunks of language that you hear and can use often.
Things like, how's it going? Or could you say that again? Or let me think about it.
Yeah, exactly. Or what do you mean, on the other hand? Things like that. When you internalize these chunks, your brain doesn't have to build sentences word by painful word.
It can just grab the whole ready-made phrase.
Right. And that's a massive shortcut to sounding more fluent and natural. It's kind of the secret sauce.
Okay, shadowing and chunking. Got it. Now, you mentioned something earlier that sounded really intriguing. The role of emotion in all this.
Ah, yes. This is where it gets really interesting from a psychological perspective. Your feelings, your emotional state have a huge impact on your learning.
So it's not just about cognitive processing. How you feel actually changes how well you learn.
Absolutely. It's biology. When you're feeling positive emotions like excitement, curiosity, enjoyment, your brain releases dopamine.
The feel-good chemical.
Well, it's more like the motivation or learning chemical in this context. Dopamine basically tells your brain, hey, this is important, remember this. It significantly boosts memory formation and makes you want to keep going.
Wow. So having fun while learning English isn't just nice, it actually makes you learn faster.
Pretty much. And the flip side is also true. If you're learning under stress or you're really afraid of making mistakes.
Which so many learners are, that fear of judgment.
Exactly. That anxiety, that stress, it actually triggers a response that can kind of shut down the learning centers in your brain. You enter survival mode, not learning mode. You literally block your own progress if you're too scared or stressed.
So the takeaway is, find ways to make it enjoyable. Treat it like play, not work.
That's the ideal, yes. Connect it to things you love. Watch movies you enjoy. Listen to music you like. Play games. Talk about hobbies. That positive emotional connection generates the dopamine you need for learning to feel more effortless, more natural, like how kids learn.
Okay, this is huge. Let's shift gears a bit to tackle what might be the single biggest roadblock for many learners trying to speak fluently.
Let me guess.
Translation.
Bingo. Thinking in your native language first, then mentally translating everything into English word by word.
Yeah, that's the absolute fluency killer. That constant mental translation creates pauses, hesitation. It makes smooth, natural speech impossible. True fluency means thinking directly in English.
But how do you even start doing that? It feels like such a hard habit to break. It takes practice, for sure, but you don't have to start with complex thoughts. Start really small. Just try narrating simple things to yourself internally in English.
Like what?
Like just noticing things. I'm hungry, or it's raining today, or look around the room, that's a blue chair, this coffee is hot.
So tiny little internal English thoughts throughout the day.
Exactly. Just short, simple observations. The goal is to get your brain used to activating English automatically without going through your native language first. Over time, these small steps help break that translation habit.
And it probably helps if that internal monologue and the language you're learning generally is connected to your actual life.
Oh, massively. You learn much faster and remember much better when the English you're learning is directly relevant to your world, your needs, your goals.
So don't just learn random vocabulary lists about, zoo animals if you're never going to talk about them.
Right. If you're a student, focus on the English you need for your studies. Things like, can you explain that again? Or, I need to work on my presentation.
And if you work in an office,
then maybe it's, let's schedule a meeting, or could you send me the report, or I'll follow up on that. Using English for your real daily tasks makes it stick. It becomes part of how you live, not just something abstract you study.
context and relevance make it permanent.
Yeah.
Okay, we've covered a lot. Patterns over rules, input, output, balance, emotion, thinking in English. Is there one final piece to this puzzle?
There is. And it's perhaps the simplest, but also the hardest in some ways. Consistency.
Yes. Showing up every day.
We often think we need these huge blocks of study time, like dedicating a whole Saturday to English. But the brain doesn't really work best that way for language automation.
It prefers frequency over duration.
Exactly. A little bit often is far more powerful than a lot, infrequently. Even just 15 or 20 minutes of focused practice or exposure every single day builds those neural pathways much more effectively than cramming for 5 hours once a week.
I like the analogy one source used, watering a plant.
Yeah, it's perfect. You wouldn't dump a huge bucket of water on it once a month and expect it to thrive, right?
No, you give it a little water regularly.
Right. Small, consistent drops every day. That's what leads to steady, strong growth. It might not feel dramatic day to day, but over time, that consistency is what builds deep, lasting fluency.
Okay, wow. That's a lot of ground we've covered. Let's try to quickly recap the main action points for anyone listening.
Sounds good.
So number one, shift your focus from memorizing grammar rules to noticing and internalizing patterns through lots of listening.
2, seriously, increase your comprehensible input, listen and read a lot, especially stuff you find interesting. Fill that tank.
3, balance that input with deliberate output. Don't just consume, actively use the language. Speak from day one. Use techniques like shadowing. Summarize things in your own words.
4, pay attention to your emotions. Make learning fun and engaging to harness that dopamine effect. Reduce stress around making mistakes.
5, train yourself to think directly in English, starting small, and connect your learning to your real life.
And finally, 6, be consistent. A little bit every single day is the secret weapon.
So what's the bottom line here? What does this all mean when we put it together?
Well, it means fluency isn't some magical talent you're born with or something achieved through brute force memorization.
Yeah.
It's built moment by moment, day by day, by working with your brain's natural learning processes, not against them.
Stop fighting your brain, start collaborating with it.
Exactly. Align your methods with how you're actually wired to learn, and fluency becomes much more attainable, much less frustrating.
Okay, that's incredibly empowering. So here's a final thought to leave you with this week, something to chew on. We know that positive emotion, that dopamine release, accelerates learning. So how can you, personally, redesign your next 15 minutes of English practice? Think about it. How can you inject more fun, more curiosity, more genuine engagement into it instead of just treating it like another task to check off your list?
Yeah, how can you make it feel more like play?
That's the challenge. Go find the fun. See you next time on The Deep Dive.
Welcome back to the deep dive. So we spent a lot of time talking about the high-level science of learning a language, how the brain uses patterns, emotion, and repetition.
Right.
But today, we want to move past the theory. The mission today is to turn all that knowledge into, 10 practical daily actions. We're essentially designing a shortcut to fluency.
That's a perfect way to put it. Fluency isn't magic.
Yeah.
It's not for a lucky few.
Yeah.
It is simply the result of doing small, smart habits over and over again. And we're going to look at the exact techniques that successful learners use, and more importantly, why they actually work for your brain.
Okay, so we've broken these habits into 3 groups. First, total immersion, which is all about building an English world around you. Second, active practice, actually training your mouth and your ears. And finally, internalization, which is about making all that knowledge stick. Let's start with that immediate environment. I think the biggest hurdle for people is that they're constantly translating in their head right now.
Absolutely. And you have to minimize that. It starts the second you wake up.
So habit number 1 is basically just start your morning in English.
Precisely. The goal is to get your English brain switched on before your native language really takes over for the day.
And we're not talking about studying grammar first thing. It's simpler than that.
Much simpler.
Like just saying simple things out loud. Good morning, or time to make some tea.
Exactly. Or even just thinking it. Okay, I need to get in the shower. It just sets the rhythm.
And then you can add a little bit of input, maybe.
Yes. While you're making coffee, instead of your usual news, put on a short English podcast.
Yeah.
Or just a motivational quote.
Oh, and the big one, your phone.
Change your phone's language to English. It's a small change, but it's constant. It stops English from feeling like this, foreign thing you only do at study time.
Okay, so that sets the tone for the day. But then you get busy. How do you keep it going?
This leads to the next habit, which is using English in your daily routine. So many learners skip this because it just feels too simple to work.
But it's fundamental.
It's absolutely fundamental. It's about retraining how you think. So if you're cooking, you're mentally narrating, okay, now I'm chopping the onions. I need to add some salt.
Or if you're walking outside, just the weather is nice today. Or that car is going fast.
Yes. And what you're doing there, and this is the critical part, is you're training your brain to think directly in English.
You're bypassing the translation.
You're completely bypassing it. You see the onion and you think the English phrase. That's fluency in action.
And to really solidify this, there's a third immersion habit. This one is about total environmental control, creating a kind of English bubble.
An English cocoon, yes. It's like simulating living abroad. Your brain just adapts faster when it's surrounded.
So changing all your device settings.
All of them. Phone, YouTube, social media, Netflix. Follow English-speaking accounts. Read the comments.
And a key thing here, with TV shows especially, don't watch the dubbed version.
No. Watch it in English, with English subtitles. That combination of hearing it and seeing it makes the language feel less like a school subject.
And more like just part of your life.
It becomes your operating system.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've built this passive, immersive environment. Now let's switch gears to active vocal practice. This is where we train the actual muscles for speaking.
And the single most effective technique for this, and I really can't stress this enough, is shadowing.
Shadowing, yes. It sounds complicated, but it's Deceptively simple.
It's just repeating what you hear, right? Like an echo.
Exactly like an echo. You listen to a bit of audio, maybe a podcast clip,
Yeah.
and you try to speak the words at the exact same time as the speaker. You're matching their tone, their speed, their rhythm.
I can already hear people thinking, but wait, what if they speak too fast? I'll never keep up.
That's a great point. You don't start with a fast-talking news anchor.
Right.
You start simple. A 1-minute clip from a children's cartoon or a slow lesson. The goal isn't to be perfect at first. It's just to catch the music of a language. It literally trains your mouth to make native-like sounds.
So once you have that rhythm, that music down, the next habit is about making it sound, well, real. That means watching and imitating actual conversations.
Yes. Move away from scripted dialogues. You need to observe natural English. Look at interviews, vlogs, podcasts. You're listening for how people talk, not just what they say.
And you're trying to pick up on those little things, the filler words.
The filler words are gold. Things like, actually, sort of.
Because that's what makes speech sound human, not like a textbook.
It's what makes your English sound alive. You're adopting the communication style.
And speaking of style, this brings us to a real game changer of a habit. Learning phrases, not just single words.
This is huge. If you want to stop building sentences clumsy, word, at a time, you have to learn in chunks.
Chunks. Linguists call this lexical chunking, right?
They do. It just means that native speakers don't think word by word. They pull out ready-made phrases from their memory. It makes speaking so much faster.
So instead of just learning the word opinion, you learn the whole phrase, in my opinion.
Or instead of just the word busy, you learn, I've been really busy lately. You have these patterns ready to go.
That makes a ton of sense. So a practical tip would be,
just write down maybe 3 to 5 useful phrases or chunks every day, and then just repeat them to yourself when you have a spare moment. When you're walking, waiting in line, you'll lock them into your memory as a single unit.
okay, so we've built the environment, we've trained the vocal muscles. Now we have to talk about active output. How do we get all this information to actually stick?
Right. And this brings us to the power of just 5 minutes of speaking a day.
Just 5 minutes.
Just 5 minutes. It seems like nothing, but it's transformative. It's about forcing yourself to produce the language, which is how you find the gaps in what you know.
But hold on. A lot of learners worry that if they just talk to themselves, they'll just keep making the same mistakes over and over. They'll reinforce bad habits.
That is a critical point, and it's why you need to do it the right way.
Now,
The key is self-correction. Use the voice recorder on your phone. Pick a simple topic, which you did today, a movie you liked, and just talk. Don't worry about grammar. Just focus on flow.
and the crucial part is listening back to it.
You have to listen back. You will immediately hear where you hesitated, where you were searching for a word. That self-awareness is the most targeted practice you can possibly get.
It's a bit uncomfortable at first, I'm sure.
It's very vulnerable, but it builds confidence so quickly.
And writing is just as important as speaking for this, which leads to the next habit, keeping an English journal.
Every night, just 5 or 10 sentences. What did you do? How did you feel? What did you learn? It forces you to form your own thoughts in English. Today was a good day. I met my friend at the park. Simple things.
And here's the key tip, I think. If you don't know a word, don't stop and look it up.
Do not stop. Just describe it. So instead of giving up because you don't know the word repaired, you can write, I fixed my laptop because it was broken. The goal is expression, not perfection.
Okay, now for a habit that feels a bit like a cheat code, using your sleep to learn.
It does feel like a cheat code, but it's grounded in cognitive science. It's about listening to English right before you go to sleep.
How does that work exactly?
Well, when you're sleeping, your brain is working hard to consolidate memories. It's sorting through the day's information. By listening to English as you drift off, you're basically putting that information at the top of the pile for your brain to process.
So it's strengthening those neural pathways for vocabulary and rhythm while you sleep.
Precisely. Listen to a calm podcast, some affirmations, a soft story. Even if you fall asleep, your brain is still absorbing the patterns. It's incredibly efficient.
And that brings us to the last habit, which might just be the most important one of all.
It is the most important. Stay consistent, even on the days you don't feel like it.
The lazy days. We all have them.
We all have them. And fluency isn't built on the days you study for 3 hours. It's built on the lazy days where you almost did nothing, but you did something.
So even if all I do is watch one short YouTube video in English, that counts.
That absolutely counts. Watch one clip, Read one paragraph, write one single sentence. You have to keep the chain going. The brain prioritizes what you do frequently.
It's that consistency that builds the momentum.
Exactly. And that momentum builds confidence. And confidence ultimately is what creates fluency.
So we've really covered the whole system today, from immersing your environment by just changing your phone's language.
All the way to the heavy lifting of active practice like shadowing, and then locking it all in with daily speaking and journaling.
These aren't just theories. These are 10, very specific, very efficient micro habits that you can literally start doing right now.
Don't wait for the perfect moment or the perfect course. Just start. Commit to these small steps, and in a few months you'll look back and just be amazed. You'll realize, wow, I can actually speak English easily now.
The ability will already be there.
It will. You just have to show up for it every day.
So considering all the science we've talked about, from building those lexical chunks to consolidating memory while you sleep, I want to leave everyone with a final thought. Which single habit, just one out of these 10, are you going to commit to doing every single day to guarantee that these small steps lead to your big fluency tomorrow? Welcome back to the Deep Dive. So today we're focusing on something that really gets to a lot of language learners, English fluency. You've shared notes, people talk about daily habits, vocab practice, all essential, totally.
Right.
But what we're seeing in the research, the experience of millions really, it points to this single critical point where things just stop.
Yeah.
And it's usually not the grammar, is it? It's this kind of invisible wall.
Fear. That's absolutely it. When we look at where learners really stall, the problem is almost never the sheer number of words they know or, understanding verb tenses.
Right.
The data keeps showing the real blockage is psychological. It's that internal critic, the little voice going, hang on, is that the right word? Am I going to sound stupid?
And that fear just creates hesitation.
Exactly. And hesitation kills flow. Our sources are pretty clear. This fear needs to be sort of systematically broken down piece by piece for fluency to actually happen.
Yeah, because that fear isn't just like a minor annoyance. It acts like a huge brake on your progress, doesn't it?
Totally.
Yeah.
A drag chute, like you said.
So our mission for this deep dive is pretty straightforward. We're digging into these methods, these mindsets, some surprising psychological tools, actually, that can shift speaking English from this, anxiety-ridden task into something fluid, engaging, maybe even fun.
That's the goal.
Right, by directly targeting and removing that fear element. Okay, so let's unpack this main issue. Why do smart, motivated people just freeze,
Yeah.
Experts seem to agree hesitation isn't really about lacking skill.
No, not usually.
It's more a sign of the brain just being completely overloaded, severe cognitive overload.
It's the brain trying to juggle way too many things at the exact same time.
Yeah.
It treats speaking like a high-stakes performance.
Right.
Think about the mental checklist it's running. Translate the thought from your native language. Okay, pick the right vocabulary.
Right.
Now check the grammar, adjust the pronunciation, and at the same time, try to watch the listener's face for judgment.
Wow, yeah, that sounds exhausting just listing it out. The sources we looked at call this the multitasking trap.
It is. You're asking your brain to do, 5 different complex things instantly?
It's like, I like this analogy. Trying to drive a car while you're also fixing the engine, reading a map, and checking all the mirrors constantly.
Exactly. The system is bound to crash. It's guaranteed to stall.
Yeah.
So when you grasp the immense cognitive load you're putting on yourself just for one sentence, well, getting stuck isn't a failure. It's almost inevitable. The brain just hits eject.
And a huge part of that panic, the thing that really cranks up that cognitive load, seems to be this desire for perfection.
Oh, absolutely.
This idea you have to sound exactly like a native speaker, 0 mistakes.
That is the absolute killer of progress in language learning. Perfectionism.
Right.
If you only let yourself speak when you're 100% certain the sentence is perfect, guess what? You'll basically never speak.
You just filter everything.
You filter every single natural thought through this like super strict internal grammar police. And that creates a delay.
And the delay feels like hesitation.
To the listener, yeah. And often to yourself, too. You interpret it as, I don't know this, even if you do.
Okay, so if wanting to be perfect is the trap, what's the, immediate counter move? How do we start escaping it?
The first, most crucial shift, stop judging yourself while you are speaking.
Okay.
You're communicating. You're not, giving a performance for linguists. The real goal is connection, understanding, not perfect sentences.
So focus on progress, not perfection.
Exactly. Change how you measure success. Instead of asking, did I mess up? Ask yourself, did I get my point across? Did I communicate better than last time? That reframing turns perceived failures into just learning opportunities, continuous improvement.
That leads perfectly into handling mistakes then, because they will happen.
Oh, inevitably.
And the mental shift that keeps coming up in the research is mistakes aren't failure, they're feedback. They're proof you're actually trying, proof you're learning.
Every single fluent speaker you admire, even native speakers who trip over words sometimes.
It happens all the time.
They built their fluency on like a mountain of errors. The real difference between someone fluent and someone stuck is that the fluent person just kept talking through the mistakes.
Right.
They didn't stop.
Right, they kept the conversation going. We need to kind of normalize correcting yourself. It doesn't have to be a big drama, a total shutdown if you miss a word.
No, the key is to treat it casually. Quick feedback. You make the error, you notice it, you maybe correct it quickly, and you just keep going, keep the flow.
Like he goes to work.
Exactly like that. Native speakers do it constantly, without even thinking. Just a tiny, quick adjustment.
Yeah.
You rob the mistake of its power to trigger fear that way.
Yeah.
You adopt this mindset of, oh, cool, just learn something specific.
But fighting that urge to panic when you do make a mistake takes some internal work, right? Our sources really emphasize the power of self-talk here. If you keep telling yourself, my English sucks, or I always forget words, your brain kind of internalizes that. It becomes a belief.
And that belief then triggers the freezing behavior right when you need to speak. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy.
So how do we actively change that script? Especially when, let's be honest, a lot of education focuses so much on spotting errors.
It's about immediate replacement. You have to catch the negative thought and swap it out right away with something empowering, something forward-looking.
Can you give some concrete examples? Like, what do you swap in?
Okay, so the thought, I can't speak well, comes up. Instantly replace it with, I'm actively improving my communication skills every day.
Okay.
Or if you worry, I'll forget all the grammar, switch to, I can express myself clearly and connect with others.
It sounds simple, but...
It sounds simple, but it's profound. It's an identity shift. You move from seeing yourself as just a student of English, which implies constant learning, errors are expected, to seeing yourself as a speaker of English.
Ah, interesting. A speaker implies action, confidence.
Precisely. That shift in self-perception is absolutely crucial for building real-time confidence.
That identity piece feels huge. Okay, let's pivot to some practical tools. Mindset is key, but we need tactics too. One massive fluency killer, the translation block.
Oof, yes. Thinking first in your native language, translating word for word in your head, and then trying to speak the English result.
Why is that so bad?
Well, several reasons. First, it massively slows you down, creates huge pauses, lots of hesitation.
Right.
Second, it often makes your sentences sound really unnatural because you're forcing English words into your native language's structure. It can sound awkward, even if the words themselves are correct.
Yeah.
Kills the rhythm.
Definitely kills the rhythm. So what's the fix? How do you force your brain to skip that translation step and just think in English?
You have to train it like a muscle. Start really simple. Don't try to think about, complex philosophy in English right away.
Okay.
Use basic, everyday internal monologue. Narrate your own life silently. I'm putting on my shoes. Okay, feeling a bit hungry now. Need to finish this report soon.
Super simple stuff.
It's super simple. Requires almost no mental effort. But by doing it consistently, those English thought patterns start becoming automatic. The faster you make simple English thoughts automatic, the faster the hesitation fades.
Makes total sense. Start small. Build the habit. Okay, so once you've got a little bit of that inner English voice going, there's a more intense exercise mentioned, the no pause exercise.
Ah, yes. This is a great one. A favorite for fluency coaches because it directly attacks that hesitation reflex.
How does it work?
The rule is simple but strict. Pick any topic, your favorite food, what you did yesterday, anything, and speak about it out loud for 1 full minute without stopping. Not even for a second. 0 pauses.
Wow, okay. But what if you forget a word? That's where most people would just stop and panic.
That's the entire point of the exercise. If you forget the word, say refrigerator, you cannot stop. You have to find another way instantly. Say that cold box where we keep the milk.
Okay, bypass it.
Bypass it. If you forget colleague, say the person I work with. The goal isn't perfect words. The goal is training your brain to keep moving forward. Stay in motion.
Because hesitation grows in silence.
But fluency grows in flow. You're training continuous communication over perfect accuracy.
That idea of training motion over perfection feels really powerful. It fundamentally rewires that fear response. Okay, another tool. This one requires a bit of bravery, maybe. Recording yourself.
Yes. Uncomfortable for almost everyone initially, but so valuable for building self-awareness. You have to hear what you actually sound like.
Why is that so important, even if it feels awkward?
Well, the initial reaction is often fear amplified, right? Oh God, I sound terrible.
Yeah.
Many people stop right there.
Yeah.
But pushing through that initial cringe is key. Once you've actually heard it, the fear of the unknown vanishes. You replace this vague anxiety with concrete data. Okay, this is what I sound like.
And crucially, as you mentioned earlier, it's how you listen back, not like a judge.
Absolutely not. That just reinforces the anxiety. You have to put on your coach hat, be detached, supportive.
So instead of, I sound awful,
You listen and say, okay, I notice I spoke a bit too quickly in that first part. Need to work on pacing. Or, my pronunciation of that specific word needs practice.
you're looking for specific, actionable things.
Exactly. You turn the anxiety into a concrete to-do list. Instead of feeling overwhelmed by sounding bad, you now have maybe 2 or 3 specific things to work on next time.
So you're channeling that energy, that fear, into improvement.
Precisely. You're giving your brain objective data points to work with, which is much more effective than just vague self-criticism.
Okay, for listeners maybe gearing up for bigger things, interviews, presentations, higher stakes situations, the sources strongly suggest not just jumping in cold. Build confidence in safer spaces first.
It's that exercise analogy again, isn't it? You wouldn't walk into the gym and immediately try to lift the absolute heaviest weight.
Right, you'd hurt yourself.
You start light. Increase intensity gradually. So, start by just speaking English with a trusted friend, maybe a language partner, or even just yourself in the mirror.
Low stakes.
Very low stakes. The goal is repetition, comfort, getting your mouth and mind used to forming English sentences without that intense pressure of judgment. Once that feels more normal, then you gradually increase the weight move to group chats, maybe work meetings, eventually the presentation or interview.
Build the confidence privately before you need it publicly.
Exactly.
Which leads nicely into a final psychological tool, one that sounds a bit out there maybe, but the research suggests it's surprisingly effective: visualization.
Mental rehearsal. Yes, it's incredibly powerful preparation.
How does it work in practice?
You literally close your eyes, take a breath, and run the scenario through in your mind, vividly. Imagine yourself in that meeting room or on that stage.
Okay.
But don't just imagine the words. Visualize your body language. See yourself sitting or standing calmly, upright, relaxed hands. Hear your own voice, confident, clear, well-paced. Feel the positive outcome.
So you're basically running a full dress rehearsal, but entirely in your head, zero risk. How does that actually help in the real moment?
Well, the interesting thing is the subconscious mind doesn't always clearly distinguish between a vividly imagined experience and a real one. So by repeatedly visualizing success, seeing and feeling yourself speaking fluently, confidently, being understood, you're actually pre-programming your subconscious. You're telling it, this is normal, we can do this.
So it feels familiar when it happens.
Exactly. When the actual situation arrives, your brain is less likely to trigger that fight or flight panic response because it recognizes the scenario. It feels like something you've already navigated successfully. It significantly dials down that initial shock that causes freezing.
That's really taking preparation seriously. Okay, so if we boil everything down, the mindset shifts, handling mistakes, the practical tools like thinking in English and recording yourself, the visualization. What's the single ultimate focus we should have right when we're about to speak?
The ultimate focus has got to be the message itself. Not the words you choose, not perfect grammar, just the idea you want to convey.
Why is that the key?
Because hesitation spikes when learners get caught up trying to sound impressive, using fancy words, obsessing over flawless sentence structure. Their focus is totally inward, on their own performance.
Right. So what should a learner be thinking instead in that moment?
Clarity over perfection, every single time. Communication, at its heart, is just about making sure the other person understands your idea clearly, efficiently.
So a little mental check before you speak.
Yeah, just pause for a tiny fraction of a second and ask yourself, is my goal right now to be perfect, or is my goal to be clear?
And shifting to clarity takes the pressure off.
Massively. When you consciously aim for clarity, the pressure to perform drops away, and fluency tends to follow naturally. Your focus becomes entirely outward on connecting with the listener and sharing your idea. And when that happens, that internal critic usually just goes quiet.
That feels like such a clear distillation of both the problem and the solution. We've covered a lot today, but I think the core takeaway is that initial fear. It doesn't mean you're bad at English. It just means you care. You care about doing well.
Exactly. And that care, if you channel it right, using these techniques, can become incredibly powerful fuel for actually achieving that flow state.
So stop waiting for the confidence fairy to arrive.
Absolutely. Confidence isn't something you wait for. It's something you build. It's a byproduct of action.
The act of speaking, even imperfectly,
is what generates the confidence. You have to speak first to get fluent and confident, not the other way around.
So the message is, go out there, speak, embrace the flow, learn from the feedback.
Precisely. And thinking about that idea of listening to yourself like a coach, analyzing specifics, not just blanket criticism.
Yeah.
Consider this. How often outside of language learning in your daily life do you apply that same coach, not critic principle, to other things you find difficult, other skills, personal challenges?
Interesting question.
And maybe think about how adopting that more analytical, objective perspective could actually accelerate your improvement across the board. Something to ponder until our next deep dive. Welcome to the deep dive. We cut through the noise and zero in on what really counts. Today, we're tackling something huge for language learners: confidence. It doesn't matter how much vocab you memorize. If you freeze up, you're stuck. So we're moving past theory today. We're diving into real, actionable steps, how to build that solid, real-world, English-speaking confidence, the kind that works, anywhere, anytime, with anyone.
That's such a critical mission, yeah. We look at a stack of sources, linguistic research, communication guides, and they all point to one thing, really. Confidence isn't magic. It's not something you just wait for. It's something you actively build through deliberate actions and specific mental training. So today, we're going to unpack the essential pieces, how you construct that confidence bit by bit, starting right now.
Okay, let's unpack this then, and where we start. It might actually surprise you. According to, the psychology behind these methods, real speaking confidence, it doesn't kick in when you open your mouth. It starts way earlier in your mind.
Exactly. You've got to deal with that inner chatter first, how you think, that internal story you tell yourself. It directly shapes how clear and convincing you sound. If you're constantly thinking, oh, I'm going to mess up, or my English isn't good enough, well, you're basically priming your brain for failure.
Right. It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy, isn't it?
Yeah.
That confirmation bias. The material we looked at gives a really sharp example of how to rewire this.
Yeah.
You absolutely have to stop saying things like, my English is poor, because saying that, it's like giving your brain an instruction. It tells your system, this is hard, this is stressful.
And you need to give it a different instruction, a better one. So instead of focusing on the flaws, focus on the journey, the process. Start saying, okay, I'm improving every day, or I'm getting better. That small change, just that verbal shift, it reframes the whole thing in your head. It's not about judgment anymore. Am I good enough? It's about progress. How can I improve?
Okay, but I wonder, how do you stick with that positive self-talk, especially when you actually hit a rough patch? It's easy to say be positive, but when you freeze mid-conversation, how do you stop that fear just completely taking over?
That's where this idea of decisive confidence comes in. It's really interesting. Fluent speakers or confident speakers, they don't wait until they feel confident. They decide to be confident. It's almost like a policy. The actionable thing here, ground yourself in why you're speaking, your message. Before you talk, literally tell yourself, okay, I can do this. What I have to say matters.
By focusing on the purpose, the reason you need to communicate, you kind of push the fear of making a mistake to the side. Purpose overrides panic, usually.
Okay, so mindset first. Then once the mind's pointing the right way, we look at the body, right? The nonverbal stuff. Because confidence isn't just words, it's how you carry yourself. Absolutely. The sources kept bringing up this powerful idea. Your body shapes your mind. And there's solid research behind this. Studies show posture doesn't just reflect confidence, it actually helps create it. Think about it. If you speak perfect English, grammatically perfect, but you're slumped over avoiding eye contact, you still seem unsure. And worse, your own brain starts to believe it.
Wow. So if you want to feel confident, you kind of have to act confident first. It's like a behavioral hack. So what's the quick, actionable tip here? What can someone do right now?
It's actually pretty simple, but it works because it taps into your neurochemistry almost instantly. Next time you're about to speak English, maybe before a meeting, or even just ordering coffee, try this. Take a deep, slow breath. That calms the nerves. Then straighten your back. Open up your chest, and this is key, physically smile before you start talking. That posture signals power, calm. Your brain picks up on it, and that energy comes through in your voice, even if the words are simple.
Okay, so we've got the internal setup, mind and body aligned. But confidence isn't a one-shot deal, is it? You need to keep it going. The sources were really clear on this. Confidence is built slowly. Lots of small wins, not one big leap.
Exactly. That's just basic habit formation, really. Learners often get tripped up because they measure success only by that huge goal, like total fluency, which is, kind of vague anyway. But real, lasting confidence, it's built from consistent, tiny little successes, like building blocks.
Okay, give us some examples. What kind of tiny building blocks should people be looking for or tracking?
Oh, it could be anything. Seriously small, like successfully asking a question you were nervous about, or maybe talking to one new person online in English, even just managing to write a paragraph you're happy with without constantly checking a translator. Each time you do something like that, you get that little feeling of, hey, I did it. That's a dopamine hit. It reinforces the behavior. It's the compound effect. Lots of little wins build up serious momentum over time.
Yeah, I think that really hits on why some learners get stuck. They expect to go from zero to hero overnight. And when that inevitably doesn't happen, they feel like they've failed completely.
Precisely. Real confidence needs that consistency, not instant perfection. So you need to make a habit of recognizing your effort daily. Take a moment, acknowledge what you did achieve, not just what you didn't. Did you get your point across? Did you try out a new phrase? Celebrate that.
And as soon as we start thinking about our own progress, we naturally start looking at others, right? Which brings us straight to what the sources called a silent confidence killer, the comparison trap.
Oh, it's brutal. Such a devastating habit. Because we compare so unfairly. You see someone speaking super fast, using all this fancy vocabulary, and you immediately think, wow, I'll never be that good. But you're only seeing their highlight reel, right? Their polished result. You're not seeing the years of practice, the effort, the thousands of mistakes they made to get there.
Yeah, we compare our own messy, behind-the-scenes struggle with someone else's finished product. It's a guaranteed way to feel bad.
It really is. And psychologically, it just kills your motivation. So the advice is clear. Use others for inspiration, maybe pick up tips, but not for comparison. The only comparison that actually helps you grow is with yourself, your past self. Just ask, am I doing a little better than last week? Did I try something new?
Yeah.
Confidence grows when you focus on beating your own limits, not someone else. Speak today if you spoke yesterday. That's the win.
Right, focusing inward. That leads nicely into the practical side of things, like preparation. This seems like another tricky area, though. Prep gives confidence, but over-preparing can actually create more fear. How does that work?
Yeah, it's a bit of a paradox, isn't it? It comes down to cognitive load, what your brain can handle. When learners memorize whole scripts word for word, their brain is totally focused on just recalling that exact sequence. So the second something unexpected happens, the other person asks a question off script, or the conversation takes a slight turn, everything falls apart. Panic sets in. The fear of forgetting the script becomes even bigger than the fear of speaking itself.
Ah, okay. So your confidence depends on everything going exactly according to plan, which, let's face it, never happens in real life. What's the smarter way to prepare them?
Prepare your core ideas. Maybe some key phrases or vocabulary you want to use, but not full, rigid sentences. This lets you have a much more natural flow because you're thinking about the meaning, not just reciting lines. So for something important, like, say, a job interview, the sources suggest mapping out just a few key points, like, okay, point 1, talk about my experience. Point 2, explain Project X clearly. Point 3, and politely express thanks. Then you trust yourself to fill in the gaps naturally around those points.
So confidence comes more from deeply understanding what you want to say rather than just memorizing lines. If you know your stuff, the language is just the vehicle. Small mistakes don't derail you.
Exactly. You shift focus from linguistic perfection to just getting the message across effectively.
Okay. And the other big piece of strategic practice mentioned is immersion, creating that English environment, even if you're not living in an English-speaking country.
Oh, this is huge. Non-negotiable, really, for building that feeling of familiarity. The actionable steps are simple, but really effective. Change your phone language to English. Listen to English podcasts, even passively. Watch shows in English. When your brain just hears English around it all the time, day in, day out, it stops feeling so foreign.
I like that. Why does that familiarity make such a difference? Why does it kill the fear, what's happening in the brain?
It just drastically reduces the mental effort, the cognitive load. When English is everywhere, phone menus, music, background TV, your brain starts treating it less like a task that needs intense focus and more like, well, just part of the environment, routine input. That constant low-stress exposure helps it become normal, familiar,
Huh.
and it's hard to be intensely nervous about something that feels routine, like checking the weather on your phone. Okay, so now we get to the crunch time, the real-world testing, because confidence isn't built just by thinking about it or preparing. It really grows when you put it into practice under a little pressure.
Right. Reading a script in your room is one thing. Speaking when someone's actually looking at you, waiting for an answer, that's the real deal. Those small, maybe slightly uncomfortable actions, they trained your brain to handle that pressure.
Sure.
So what's the absolute smallest real-world step someone could take? Like today.
Start super minimal, seriously low stakes. Order your coffee in English. Ask a shopkeeper a simple, specific question, where can I find? Or even just leave a thoughtful comment in English on a YouTube video you watched. The goal here is exposure, desensitization. Get used to that feeling. The more you do it, the less your brain freaks out. Eventually, that little jolt of fear starts to feel more like excitement, anticipation.
And moving into that real world means facing another big mental block. Perfectionism. You hear this all the time, but it's true, right? Don't wait until your English is perfect.
Absolutely. If you wait for perfect, you'll literally never start speaking. Ever. We really need to internalize this. Fluent speakers, confident speakers, they prioritize speaking without stopping much more than speaking without mistakes.
Yeah, it's about getting the message out, clearly and continuously. Not about flawless grammar every single time. I mean, even native speakers trip over words, use sentence fragments, make small grammar errors. But they just keep going. Their goal is connection, not perfection.
And honestly, your clear intention to communicate, plus that confident posture and positive energy we talked about, that combination will impress people way more than perfect verb tenses ever will. Confidence kind of becomes the bridge over any small language gaps.
There's still that fear lurking, isn't there? The fear of being judged, someone mocking your accent, or maybe correcting you really harshly. How do you deal with that? It can totally kill your confidence.
This is a tough one, but the sources offered a really powerful perspective, almost a mental shield. And it's this. People who are genuinely skilled or confident themselves, they rarely mock learners. They usually want to help. The people who do mock, they often haven't been through the struggle themselves. Their reaction says more about their issues than your English.
Okay, so don't take it personally. Develop some resilience, like have a plan if someone corrects you constructively.
Treat it like free feedback. Just say, oh, thank you, I appreciate that. Simple. And if someone actually laughs or is unkind, smile, take a breath, and keep going if you can. Or just walk away. Your goal is growth, not getting everyone's approval.
That's powerful. And the sources suggested something interesting here, that your confidence actually grows every time you handle that kind of situation calmly.
It does. It reinforces that you can handle difficulty. Confidence isn't about never messing up. It's about proving to yourself you won't quit when things get awkward. Resilience is key.
Which brings us back, full circle almost, to the most basic truth here. Repetition. Repetition builds confidence.
Always. It's the bedrock. The first time you try anything new, it feels weird, hard, probably scary. The 10th time, it feels normal. The 100th time, easy, maybe even automatic. That's why daily, consistent practice, even if it's just for 10 or 15 minutes, is so much more powerful for building confidence than like one massive, stressful study session once a week.
Right. Repetition literally rewires the brain. It turns speaking English from this big, scary challenge into just a habit, a normal thing you do.
That's the mindset shift. Okay, I've done this before. I felt awkward. I survived. I can do it again.
Okay, let's sum this up quickly. Confidence.
Yep.
It's not something you're given. It's something you actively create. You do it through intentional thinking, controlling your body language, celebrating those small daily wins, and just consistently practicing in the real world. Every single time you speak, especially when you feel that fear, you're building that muscle. You're training yourself to be braver next time.
Absolutely. Just keep putting one foot in front of the other. Keep speaking, keep learning, keep noticing your progress, however small. And remember, often the confidence has to come first, just slightly, and then the competence catches up. You decide to be confident while you're still learning.
We really enjoyed diving into these practical strategies with you.
Yeah, and the sources leave us with a final thought. When you build this kind of deliberate confidence, English stops being just a subject you study or a barrier. It becomes, and I quote, your voice to the world. So the question for you is, how will gaining that voice change how you show up in the world this week? Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we are jumping into a really critical topic for anyone learning English.
Absolutely. We're looking at how to really unlock your speaking ability.
We're tackling what our sources suggest is, well, the #1 secret killer of spoken fluency. And surprisingly, it's not just about knowing more words.
No, it's not vocabulary. And it's often not even a lack of knowing the grammar rules, is it?
Right.
The real killer is something we could call grammar stress. It's that fear, that constant, almost paralyzing worry that you're about to make a mistake, a grammar mistake specifically.
Oh, I think everyone learning language knows that feeling. You're in a conversation, it's flowing, and then bam, your brain just freezes. You're thinking, wait, should that be have been or had been, and suddenly you're stuck.
That pause, that hesitation, that's the core barrier we're talking about. It puts this huge load on your brain.
Yeah,
you know?
How so?
Well, every time you stop to mentally check a rule, like, do I need those here? Is that noun plural? You interrupt the automatic flow.
So you're not just talking anymore, you're editing. In real time.
Exactly. You're editing, and that breaks your rhythm. It stops the language from becoming sort of muscle memory.
So our mission in this deep dive, based on these insights, is to lay out some maybe counterintuitive ways to get past that internal editor.
Right. We want to show you how to focus on speaking English more naturally, prioritizing speed, and just getting your message across.
Not chasing perfection.
Not at all. Communication over mechanical correctness. That's the key.
Okay, so the biggest takeaway right off the bat seems to be this mindset shift. Fluency isn't about being flawless, it's about being understood.
Precisely. It's the ability to express yourself freely, clearly, without getting stuck in your own head.
All right, let's dig into that first big idea then. The mindset shift. You mentioned separating things. What needs separating?
Yeah, this is fundamental. We need to really clearly separate grammar study from grammar thinking during speech.
Okay, explain that.
So when you're studying, with your books, apps, whatever, that's the time to dive deep, analyze the rules, do the exercises, figure out those tricky verb tenses. That's your analytical work.
Got it. Study times for the rules.
But then, the moment you open your mouth to actually speak to someone,
you need to
mentally hit forget on all those rules. Just let them go.
Forget the grammar. That sounds risky. Why is forgetting so important?
Think about your brain's processing power, like the RAM on a computer. It's limited, right?
Okay.
If you're using, say, half of that mental RAM just to constantly monitor your grammar, did I say that right? This is correct. You only have half left for everything else.
Like actually choosing words, listening to the other person, forming your next thought.
Exactly. That's why it feels so slow and effortful. But if you let go of that constant self-correction,
you free up all that mental energy.
100%. All your focus goes onto the message, onto connecting with the person you're talking to.
Okay, but I can hear the objection now. People worry, if I just ignore grammar, won't I sound, wrong? Won't I just pick up bad habits?
That's a really common fear, and it's understandable. But let's look at the basic function of language. Communication.
Right.
If you say something like, yesterday I go market, is the grammar perfect? No.
Definitely not.
But is the meaning clear?
Yeah.
Did the listener understand you went to the market yesterday?
Yes, absolutely. The core message is there.
That's the point. Our sources really emphasize this. Focus first on conveying your meaning with energy, clarity, confidence. Those are the things that make your English feel powerful, even if there are some grammatical slips.
So communication first, correction can come later. It's about not letting the fear of imperfection stop you from actually practicing.
Precisely. If you wait until you're perfect to speak, you'll literally never speak. You won't get the practice needed to improve. You have to embrace imperfection to connect.
Okay, so fluency isn't perfect grammar. It's communication without that constant hesitation, even with simple words or slightly off grammar.
The moment you release that pressure for perfection, that's when your language starts to flow much more naturally.
All right, mindset shifted. We're speaking to connect, not to pass a grammar test. What practical tools can help us build sentences without getting bogged down in the rules? This takes us to phrases, right? And input.
Yes, this is super practical. Think about it like this. Grammar rules are like detailed blueprints for building something from scratch. You need all the parts, measurements.
Lots of steps.
Lots of steps. Phrases, on the other hand, are like pre-made components, tools ready to use.
Okay. So instead of building a sentence piece by piece, you grab a whole chunk that already works.
Exactly. And the beauty is these chunks, these common phrases, they come prepackaged with correct grammar, natural intonation, rhythm, everything.
You don't have to assemble it yourself each time.
Right. So instead of mentally constructing, I possess a significant interest in acquiring further knowledge about this particular subject, which is quite complex.
Very formal, yeah.
You just learn and use the phrase, I'm really into it.
Much shorter, natural, automatic.
Totally. Or, instead of figuring out, I regret to inform you that I failed to comprehend the statement you just uttered.
Nobody talks like that.
Right, just say, sorry, I didn't catch that. Simple, effective, fluent.
So the actionable step here is collect these phrases.
Yes, start making lists of useful everyday phrases.
Yeah.
Greetings, opinions, asking for things, agreeing, disagreeing, and then practice them.
Say them out loud.
Repeat them until they feel completely automatic, until you don't have to think about them. Fluency is built on these automatic blocks.
That makes sense. And this idea connects to the other tool you mentioned, input, listening.
Oh, massively. The sources consistently say fluency grows faster when you listen more than you speak, especially in the beginning.
Why is listening so powerful?
It taps into how we naturally learned our first language. Think about kids, they listen for years, just absorbing the sounds, the rhythm, the patterns.
Before they start speaking complex sentences.
Exactly. They're learning subconsciously. They're not sitting there analyzing grammar rules. Their brains are detecting patterns.
So when we listen a lot to natural English, our brains start doing that pattern detection automatically.
Yes, you start absorbing correct pronunciation, how words link together, common sentence structures, even grammar. All without actively trying to memorize rules. It just sort of seeps in.
So it's like learning without studying.
In a way, yes. It's subconscious acquisition versus conscious learning, but it needs to be active listening, not just background noise.
What does active listening involve?
Pay attention to the melody, the intonation. Notice how native speakers connect words. Maybe pause a recording and try to repeat a sentence exactly as you heard it.
Mimicking the sound.
Or even write down a short phrase you hear. Connecting listening with speaking or writing really helps lock those patterns in your brain, makes them easier to recall later.
Okay, so we've got the mindset right, we're collecting phrases, and we're boosting our listening input. Now for section 3. Active practice techniques that really force the brain to work differently. Let's talk about shadowing.
Shadowing. This one's a real game changer, I think.
How does it work?
It's simple, but intense. You listen to a native speaker, maybe a podcast clip, or an audiobook.
Okay.
And you repeat what they say out loud almost at the same time as them.
Yeah.
Like you're their shadow or their echo.
So not waiting for them to finish the sentence.
Ideally, no. You're trying to speak right along with them or just a fraction of a second behind.
And you're copying everything, not just the words.
Everything. The exact pronunciation, the rhythm, the ups and downs of their voice, the speed, how they link words, like how did you eat yet often becomes did you eat yet in fast speech.
You're trying to mimic the music of the language.
Precisely. It's like building muscle memory for your mouth and vocal cords. But more importantly, it trains your brain to process and produce English simultaneously.
Which is what happens in real spontaneous conversation.
Exactly. It bypasses that slow analytical thinking. Try it with this one short phrase you hear, like, hey, what's up? How's it going? Just repeat that 3 or 4 times, really copying the speaker's energy.
You start to feel the natural flow of it.
Yeah. And you absorb the correct patterns without even thinking about the underlying grammar rules. It just starts to sound right.
And this kind of immediate practice helps tackle that other huge problem, the translation trap.
Oh, the translation trap. That's maybe the biggest speed bump for fluency.
It's like trying to drive with the handbrake on, right?
Perfect analogy. You have a thought in your native language. Then you mentally translate the words and the sentence structure into English. And only then do you actually speak.
That's so many steps. No wonder it's slow and jerky.
It kills the rhythm. It introduces hesitation. The goal is to eliminate that middle translation step completely.
To think directly in English.
Yes. That's the critical leap.
But how do you just start thinking in a different language? It feels like this automatic habit you can't break.
You start small. Very small. Don't try to translate complex ideas at first. Just start labeling your immediate world in English in your head.
Like
Just thinking. Coffee is hot. My keys. Close the door. Simple nouns, simple observations.
Okay, so internal labeling.
Then build up slightly. Narrate your simple actions internally. I'm walking. Need to buy milk. It's raining now.
So you're connecting the thought or the object directly to the English word, skipping your native language.
Exactly. You're building that direct pathway. Then maybe move to slightly longer thoughts. I think I'll make dinner soon. That was a good meeting.
It's training your brain to default to English for those thoughts.
It takes practice. But this internal monologue, this self-talk in English, is incredibly powerful for breaking the translation habit.
I actually do this sometimes without realizing it, especially when I'm concentrating, like talking myself through cooking steps.
That's perfect. Narrating your actions. Okay, now I'm chopping the onions. Need to find the salt.
You might feel a bit silly talking to yourself.
Maybe. But who cares? It's practice without any pressure. You're linking actions, thoughts, and English in a real-world context, naturally.
Okay, which nicely leads us into our final section. Embracing the errors and actually using English daily. We need to reframe how we see mistakes.
Absolutely. Mistakes are not failures. They're not signs you're bad at English.
What are they then?
They're feedback.
Yeah.
They're data points for your brain. Every time you make an error, maybe use the wrong preposition or mix up a verb tense and you realize it, or someone gently corrects you, your brain learns.
It learns a boundary, like, okay, that way doesn't work.
Exactly. But if you're too afraid to speak because you might make a mistake,
You get zero feedback.
zero feedback, zero data, zero progress. You stay stuck.
There's a real irony here, isn't there? Our sources point out that sometimes the people who sound the most, robotic or unnatural are the ones trying desperately hard not to make any mistakes.
Yes, because real, natural conversation, even between native speakers, is messy. People interrupt themselves, they use slightly incorrect grammar sometimes, they hesitate. It's normal.
So aiming for perfect grammar can actually make you sound less fluent.
It can make you sound less natural, certainly. Fluency has this element of ease and confidence. It's about being fearless, not flawless.
Speak boldly.
Speak boldly, and trust that the accuracy will improve over time.
How does that happen if you're not constantly correcting yourself?
Through continued exposure and use, all that listening you're doing, the shadowing, the conversations you're having, even imperfectly. Your brain's pattern recognition machine is constantly working subconsciously.
So eventually I go yesterday just starts to sound wrong.
Exactly. Not necessarily because you consciously recall the past tense rule in that moment, but because you've heard "I went yesterday" thousands of times. The correct pattern feels natural.
So grammar accuracy becomes a byproduct of lots of communication practice rather than the main goal itself.
That's a great way to put it. Focus on using the language, communicating your ideas now. Let the fine-tuning of grammar catch up as you go.
Don't put the grammar cart before the communication horse.
Precisely. Fluency really clicks when communication becomes more important to you than grammatical perfection. When you stop worrying so much about the mistakes, that's paradoxically when your English often starts to flow much better.
So bringing it all together, the core message seems to be about confidence and connection.
They feed each other. The more you communicate, the more confident you feel. The more confident you feel, the more you communicate. It's a positive cycle.
So don't wait until your grammar is perfect. Start speaking, start connecting now, and let the grammar follow your growing fluency.
Absolutely. Remember, the best English speakers you hear aren't necessarily the ones who never make mistakes. They're the ones who kept speaking, kept communicating, kept putting themselves out there.
Fluency is ultimately about free expression.
Free expression, that's the goal.
Okay, let's leave our listeners with a final provocative thought, something to chew on.
All right. Since we've established that even native speakers aren't grammatically perfect in conversation, and that hesitation is the real fluency killer,
Yeah.
here's a challenge.
Ooh, I like a challenge.
Think about the one grammar rule that causes you the most stress. The one you're always checking yourself on. Maybe it's articles A, the and. Maybe it's prepositions. Maybe it's present perfect versus past simple.
Okay, got one in mind.
For the next 24 hours, make a conscious decision to just stop worrying about that one rule when you speak. Just ignore it completely.
Let it go.
Let it go. Focus only on getting your message across, on keeping the conversation flowing. Don't pause to check that rule. See what happens. Does your message still get through?
I bet it will.
We think it will too. And notice how much lighter, how much more engaging your conversation feels without that one mental speed bump. Give it a try.
Great challenge. Good luck. Happy speaking. Welcome back to the deep dive. So today, we're kind of setting aside the usual stuff you hear about language learning. All the talk about perfect pronunciation, consistency, listening skills. All that's important, obviously.
Of course.
But the research we've been looking at points to one single thing that's maybe more powerful than all of them combined.
And that's training your mind to stop translating.
Exactly, to start actually thinking in English.
That's right. Because the main thing that holds people back, the real friction, is that translation process.
Right.
Your mind is trying to build a sentence in your native language.
Yeah.
It could be Hindi, Spanish, anything, and then it has to convert it. That just creates hesitation.
Yeah, the material we looked at had this perfect example. Someone thinks in Urdu, main market, jarha hun.
I am going to the market.
And by the time their brain translates that, figures out the tense, gets the words ready, the person who asked the question is already checking their phone. The moment's gone.
And that delay, it's the same cognitive tax no matter what your native language is. It's not about not knowing the words.
It's a speed issue.
It's a delivery speed issue. So the goal here, as one paper put it, isn't to study English. It's to live English.
To create this internal English-only environment.
So you get that direct, delay-free response.
Okay, so our mission for this deep dive is to basically flip that switch. Go from dual language processing to English-only mode.
It's like an operating system upgrade for your brain.
I like that. And the sources we've synthesized break this down into 9 steps, which we've kind of grouped into 3 phases. The first one is all about the mental muscle.
Training the internal voice, yeah.
So where do we start?
Well, this first phase is about making English your default. And step 1 is to start with really small thoughts, micro thoughts.
Okay, so like the second you wake up.
Precisely. That's the critical window. The first few seconds of your day basically tell your subconscious what language you're operating in.
So instead of just groaning when the alarm goes off?
You think the alarm is loud, or I need some water, or even just time to brush my teeth. It feels weird at first.
I can imagine.
It feels really deliberate and awkward, like, lifting a tiny weight with a muscle you never used.
And that awkwardness means it's working.
It's the signal that you're building a new neural pathway.
Okay, so from those tiny thoughts, we move to step 2, which is basically expanding that into a constant stream.
Narrate your day in English.
You become the voiceover for your own life.
Exactly. It's high volume, low stakes practice. You're walking to work and you're just thinking, I'm opening the door. I see a blue car. I need to call my sister later.
So you're running these little practice drills all day without the pressure of talking to someone.
Right. And you're testing grammar, you're testing structure constantly.
But I have to ask, won't that just be exhausting? I mean, narrating every single thing you do all day.
That's a great question.
Yeah.
And it is a real challenge. The key isn't perfection, it's consistency. So maybe you can't do it for 16 hours straight, but you can set aside, dedicated slots for it. And the research points to one technique here that's a total game changer.
What's that?
Recapping your entire day in English right before you go to sleep.
Ah, okay. Why is that specific time so important?
Because that's when memory consolidation happens.
Yeah.
When you're lying in bed and you think, today I met Sarah, we talked about the project, I felt happy. You are forcing your brain to process the day's events through an English lens.
So it cements the vocabulary you use that day.
It cements everything, the words, the feelings, the structures.
So if that's internal narration, what about step 4? The material called this the most underrated tip.
Oh yeah, talking to yourself out loud.
But in private.
In private. This is your personal classroom. There's zero judgment, zero pressure.
Because nobody's listening.
Nobody's listening. So you can work through a problem. You can say, okay, I think I'll try to restructure that email. Or if I go for a walk now, I should probably bring a coat. You're the student and the teacher.
It gives you permission to make mistakes, to sound a bit silly, which I think is a huge mental barrier for people.
It is.
So we've covered the internal training, the mental monologue. But to really make English the default, you need reinforcement from the outside too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Which brings us to our second phase, external immersion and active practice.
Right.
If the first steps were about building the mental house, step 3 is about filling that house with English.
Immersing yourself. And this is more than just watching movies, right?
Oh, much more. We're talking about making your entire environment English friendly. Set your phone to English, your laptop, your apps.
Even small things, like your reminders.
Yes. Those tiny interactions are so important. Remember to drink water. Send the invoice. Your brain just subconsciously interacts with English hundreds of times a day.
In these little non-stressful ways.
And then there's passive learning. For all that downtime when you're, cooking or commuting, put on an English podcast or an audiobook.
And the goal isn't to study it, right?
Not at all. You don't need a notebook. You just let the rhythm and the expressions sort of wash over you. Your brain just absorbs the patterns.
Building on that, we get to a really powerful technique in step 7. Watch, repeat, and shadow.
Shadowing, yeah. This is a professional technique.
So how does it actually work?
You're basically repeating what a native speaker says from a video or a podcast. at the exact same time they're saying it, same pace, same tone.
Wow, that sounds incredibly difficult. What's actually happening in your brain that makes that so effective?
It forces you to stop focusing on individual words and start focusing on the music of the language, the intonation, the rhythm.
Prosody.
Exactly. You
Yeah.
physically don't have time to translate. It's impossible. So it breaks that word-by-word habit and builds muscle memory in your mouth. You start thinking in whole phrases.
That's fascinating. You're training your mouth and your ear at the same time.
Mm.
And speaking of training, step 8 is about connection, surrounding yourself with English thinkers.
Because language is a tool for communication. It needs to be used. If you don't have a local group, you have to find one online.
So like Discord servers or Facebook groups.
Yeah, find a community built around a hobby you love that just happens to be in English.
The research also mentioned a really modern tool for this.
Using AI conversation partners.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Really?
For sure. Even just 10 or 15 minutes a day with an AI removes that fear of embarrassment. You get instant practice, low stakes.
Okay, so we've covered the internal training and the external practice, but the material really emphasizes that the biggest changes happen at a deeper level.
In your mindset.
Which brings us to our final phase, shifting mindset and identity.
This is where we go beyond just the mechanics. It starts with step 5. Stop translating, start feeling English.
We know translation is bad, but how do you just switch to feeling?
It's about attaching an emotion or a sensory experience to the word, not just a definition.
Right.
So when you learn the phrase, "it's cold today," don't just translate the words.
You should actually think about the feeling of cold air or putting on a sweater.
Exactly. Or the smell of coffee. You treat the language like an emotional package, not a dictionary entry. When you do that, retrieval becomes instant.
That's a huge reframing. And it seems like that connects directly to step 6, which is think in situations, scenario thinking.
It does. This is proactive mental rehearsal.
So you're not just practicing random sentences.
No, you're playing out specific common scenarios in your head, like ordering a complicated coffee, or introducing yourself at a party, or asking for directions at an airport.
You're basically preloading the software for that situation.
Precisely. You're giving your brain these pre-programmed responses. So when the real situation happens, you're not panicking and trying to translate.
Your brain just pulls up the right folder.
It pulls up the folder. It removes the pressure completely.
So if those steps are about changing the process, step 9 is the final destination. Make English your identity.
This is the ultimate step. You stop seeing English as a subject you're learning.
Like in school.
Right. And you start seeing it as part of who you are. You're not a student of English anymore. You're just a person who thinks and speaks in English.
And the research actually suggests using things like affirmations for this.
That sounds a little cheesy, but yeah. Putting up quotes around your room. I speak English confidently. I think in English.
So what's the logic there?
It's about changing your core belief system. Once you truly believe you're an English thinker, all that internal resistance it collapses. You become unstoppable.
That's a powerful way to frame it. So that wraps up the 9 steps. And the big takeaway for me is that thinking in English really does move fluency from just an academic goal to, I don't know, a natural way of being.
You go from just speaking the language to thinking and feeling and even dreaming in it.
Yeah.
And if you connect it all back, fluency isn't about getting every single grammar rule perfect. It's about perfecting your mindset.
It's a habit.
It's a habit. And once it's ingrained, it's effortless.
So I guess the final question for you listening is, why start today? And I think the promise of all this research is pretty clear. Once your mind starts thinking in English, your tongue will follow automatically.
Don't just learn English. Live it. The fluency will just be a byproduct of how you think.
Welcome back to the deep dive. So if you're learning a language, I bet you know this feeling. You've done the homework, right? The grammar, the vocab.
Yeah.
You can read stuff okay, but then, you go to actually speak, like order a coffee or talk in a meeting, and bam, nothing comes out. It's like, whew, your tongue just freezes up, all that knowledge, gone. Hesitation just takes over.
Oh, absolutely. That's a classic case of what some linguists call a high effective filter. It's basically an emotional wall.
Okay.
Yeah, it's driven by, fear of mistakes, looking silly, being judged, and it just blocks what you know from actually coming out of your mouth.
Right. So the knowledge is there, but it's trapped.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's where confidence comes in. Confidence is like the key to lowering that filter. It's the bridge, really, between knowing the theory and actually using the language in real life. Messy, real conversations.
That's a great way to put it. A bridge. Okay, so our mission today then in this deep dive is to unpack these strategies we've looked at. There are 9 key ones to help build that real life speaking confidence, naturally, without all that hesitation.
And the core idea, the thing to really hold on to, is that confidence. It's like a muscle, seriously.
Okay.
It gets stronger the more you use it. If you wait until you think you're perfect to start speaking, well, you'll probably never start.
Right. That day never comes.
It just doesn't. You got to start flexing that muscle now, even if your form isn't, Olympic level yet.
Which leads us perfectly into our first big theme, mindset mastery. It's about changing how we think about success, isn't it? Away from perfect grammar towards just communicating.
Precisely. And the first strategy is maybe the most important, but it takes real commitment. It's simply embrace imperfection, speak. Anyway, stop waiting. Just do it. Fluency, when you really look at it, means communicating clearly, getting your point across. It doesn't mean perfect grammar every single time.
Yeah, and I think it helps if you flip it around, right? Like, imagine you hear someone trying to speak your native language. They make mistakes. You don't judge them, do you? You usually think, wow, good for them for trying. You appreciate the effort.
Exactly. You appreciate the connection they're trying to make.
Yeah.
And you got to remember, most people you speak English with, they'll give you that same grace. They really will.
So the fear is often bigger in our heads.
Way bigger. The advice here is clear. Don't fear mistakes. Fear silence. Mistakes aren't failures. They're data. They show you where to grow.
Like a little course correction.
Yeah. Think about ordering food. Maybe you say, I want a water. Okay, it's not perfect, but you get water. And maybe you notice someone else say, I'd like some water. And boom. The mistake just taught you the more natural way. That little interaction, it builds your confidence for next time. The mistake was the teacher.
Seeing mistakes as lessons, that's a huge shift. And this whole mindset piece connects to the 9th strategy too, right? Celebrate small wins.
Oh, absolutely vital. Psychologically, we tend to fixate on the huge end goal, like total fluency, which is great, but
It feels far away.
it feels miles away.
Yeah.
So you need to appreciate the small steps. Did you manage 2 sentences without freezing? Awesome. Did you order lunch successfully? Great. Talk to a colleague for a minute. Fantastic.
So actually take a moment to acknowledge it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Acknowledge it. Appreciate yourself. Because doing that trains your brain to link positive feelings with speaking English.
With a little reward signal. Hey, that felt good. Let's do it again.
Exactly that. You're basically hacking your own motivation system. Fluency is a long journey, like a marathon. Celebrating those little milestones keeps you going.
Okay, so mindset is crucial. But you got to actually do stuff too. Which brings us to theme 2, the practice environment and taking action.
Right. Confidence is built by doing. So the idea is to start speaking in safe zones.
Safe zones, like
Yeah.
low pressure situations.
Exactly. Places or people where you feel comfortable practicing without worrying too much about judgment. Maybe friends who are also learning. Or online groups, Discord servers, WhatsApp groups, places where everyone's in the same boat.
Yeah, this can be great. But what if you're more of a solo learner? Finding a group isn't always easy.
Good point. Well, there's a fantastic tool pretty much everyone has. Your phone's voice recorder.
Recording yourself.
Yeah, it sounds simple, but it's really powerful. Record yourself talking, maybe reading something aloud, or just talking about your day, then listen back.
Cringeworthy sometimes, maybe.
Maybe a little at first. But you're not just listening for mistakes in pronunciation. You're getting used to the sound of your own voice in English. You're noticing pauses, rhythm. It helps train your brain and your mouth to work together better. It's like mental prep for the real thing.
Practicing the mechanics without the audience pressure. Got it. But then, eventually.
Eventually, you got to leave the nest, which leads to the next step. And yeah, it can feel a bit bold. Speak to strangers, real practice.
Okay, this is the scary one for a lot of people.
It is, but it's where the magic happens for fluency, because it forces you to think on your feet. No time to mentally translate everything. Real-time processing.
So it proves you can actually do it in the wild.
Exactly. And that proof, that's a massive confidence booster.
But how do you start? Like, you don't just walk up to a stranger and start debating philosophy, right?
Probably not the best starting point. No. You start small, transactional things.
Yeah.
Real world, but low stakes.
Like?
Like at a shop. Excuse me, where can I find? Or can you tell me where the billing counter is?
Yeah.
At a cafe. Can I get the menu, please? Traveling. How far is the bus stop? Tiny interactions.
So aim for success in small doses.
Precisely. Get that little win, successfully ask for directions, order that coffee. Each time you do it, your brain gets the message. See, I can speak English. And your confidence it grows. It really doubles down.
Okay, that makes sense. Small, successful steps. And that ties into another strategy, number 8, the daily confidence challenge.
Yeah, this is a fun way to keep pushing that boundary just a little bit every single day. Gently.
So intentional little acts of speaking bravery.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe today you just say good morning in English to someone on the street. Tomorrow, ask a shopkeeper, how much is this? Maybe post something simple on social media with an English caption.
Tiny things.
Tiny things that push you just outside your comfort zone. What people often find is they do it and they realize, that wasn't actually that scary.
Yeah.
And you feel that shift, from being scared to feeling a bit more free. It shows that small, consistent actions add up way more than waiting for some big, perfect moment that might never come.
Okay, that's really practical. Now,
Yeah.
let's shift gears a bit. We've talked mindset, we talked action, now for the deeper stuff. Psychological reprogramming. This feels like where the real internal change happens.
It really is, because a lot of hesitation starts in the mind. So the first strategy here is reprogram your mind with affirmations.
Affirmations. Okay, I know some people hear that and think it sounds a bit fluffy, like self-help talk.
I get that. But there's actually some solid cognitive science behind it. Think of it like this. Your brain tends to move towards what it hears repeatedly. It's like subconscious programming, auto-suggestion.
So telling yourself positive things about your English speaking actually helps.
It really does. The classic technique is standing in front of a mirror each morning and saying things out loud, like, I speak English confidently, or I don't hesitate when I speak. English flows naturally for me.
Does it have to be the mirror thing? That might feel awkward for some.
The mirror thing is powerful because you're seeing yourself say it. But no, it doesn't have to be. You could write them down, stick them on your computer, your bathroom mirror, read them, think them. The key is repeated exposure to these positive statements.
So constantly feeding your brain that positive message.
Exactly. It builds this strong internal belief. And when you truly believe you can speak confidently, that hesitation, it just starts to dissolve. There's less room for it.
Interesting. Okay, what's next in the psychological toolkit? Strategy 5. Listen, like a speaker.
Right. We focus so much on speaking, on output. But powerful listening is fundamental to building speaking confidence. It helps you respond more naturally.
How so?
Well, when you're really listening, not just hearing, but actively listening to conversations, podcasts, movies, you're absorbing more than just words. You're picking up on rhythm, intonation, common phrases, how people really talk.
The music of the language.
Yeah, exactly. Your brain starts to internalize those patterns. So when it's your turn to speak, your responses feel less like you're translating word for word from your native language and more like, natural interaction.
And there's an advanced technique here too, right? Shadow listening.
Yes, shadowing. This is super effective. It's active listening taken up a notch.
How does it work?
You listen to a native speaker, it could be audio, video, and you repeat what they say immediately after them, like milliseconds behind. And you try to mimic everything, the speed, the rhythm, the tone.
Oh, wow. So like if they say, what are you doing today? You say, what are you doing today? Right away, trying to sound just like them.
Exactly. It's building muscle memory for your mouth and coordinating your ear, brain, and tongue.
Like drills for athletes.
Precisely. Or how actors learn lines. They don't just memorize words. They feel the emotion, the rhythm of the line. Shadowing helps you feel the flow of English, which helps it come out more naturally later.
Okay, that's a cool technique. Now, number 6 feels like a real mind trick. Turn fear into excitement.
It kind of is, but it's based on solid psychology. It's called cognitive reappraisal.
Cognitive reappraisal.
Okay, so the science shows that the physical feelings of fear, like before speaking, and the feelings of excitement are almost identical. Heart beats faster, you get that adrenaline rush, you feel more alert.
Right, that nervous energy.
Exactly. It's the same physiological response. The only difference is the label we put on it. Oh no, I'm scared. Versus, oh wow, I'm energized.
So the trick is just change the label.
Basically, yes. When you feel those nerves kick in right before you have to speak English, consciously tell yourself, okay, this isn't fear, this is excitement, this is energy I can use.
Reframe the feeling.
Reframe it. Use that faster heartbeat, that alertness as fuel to speak. It's a mental switch that can instantly turn that hesitation into like positive energy for communication. It's pretty powerful.
That I is powerful. Okay, one last psychological strategy. Visualization.
The final secret weapon, maybe. This is about using your imagination.
How?
You take some time, close your eyes, and vividly imagine yourself speaking English confidently and fluently. See yourself in that meeting, making your points clearly. Picture yourself chatting easily with native speakers, laughing, connecting. On stage, maybe. Whatever your goal is.
And this works. Just imagining it.
It does, and the reason is fascinating. Your brain, apparently, isn't great at telling the difference between something vividly imagined and something that's actually happening. Yeah. So when you consistently visualize yourself speaking fluently, calmly, expressively, you're actually firing up the neural pathways associated with that behavior.
Like you're practicing in your mind.
Exactly. It's like mental rehearsal. Athletes do this all the time, visualizing the perfect shot, the winning race. It builds a belief that you can do it. Your brain starts to think, oh, I'm already this confident speaker, and that belief shapes how you actually behave when the real situation comes up. You act bolder.
So pulling it all together then, embracing mistakes, safe zones, talking to strangers, affirmations, listening, reframing fear, visualizing. It's not about waiting for confidence to just show up one day.
Not at all. Confidence isn't something you get when you're fluent. It's something you build on the way to fluency. It's this mix of doing the actions day by day and training your mind.
You live the language and the confidence grows with it.
That's it perfectly.
You live it.
And remember the key idea. Confidence isn't about never feeling nervous. Everyone feels nervous sometimes.
Right.
True confidence is saying, okay, I feel nervous and I'm going to speak anyway.
That's the real shift. That's the takeaway. So the challenge for you listening is stop waiting. Start creating that confidence today. Pick one of these strategies, maybe two, and just start.
Because honestly, the moment you start truly believing in yourself, believing you can communicate, your English starts to believe in you too. You'll see it happen in the real world.
Welcome back to the deep dive. So have you ever felt really stuck? Like you're learning all this English grammar, but when it comes time to actually speak, you just freeze.
It's a super common feeling.
Well, this deep dive is definitely for you then. We're going to tackle that big question. How do you stop studying English and actually start, well, living it?
It's a really interesting paradox, isn't it? People pour hours, thousands of hours into learning English. But the research we looked at today suggests the answer might be simpler. Maybe even about unlearning some of that old classroom stuff.
Unlearning. Okay.
Yeah, fluency. According to these sources, it's not really a test score you hit. It's more like an identity you step into.
I like that framing. It shifts things, doesn't it? Away from just knowing stuff to actually integrating it into who you are.
Exactly.
So if you're still doing that mental gymnastics, translating every single thought from your first language into English before you say it, you're kind of stuck in learner mode.
Right. The real goal, the sources say, is getting to where your first thought, your gut reaction, maybe even how you feel something, it just comes out in English instantly.
Without that delay.
Precisely. If English is just this tool you only pull out for specific situations like work meetings or travel, you're always going to feel that friction.
Okay, so what's our mission today then?
Our mission is to pull out the 9 most powerful habit-forming strategies from all this research, the things you can actually do to make that shift from English learner to English speaker.
9 key habits. Got it. Let's dig in. And I guess we have to start where language really lives, right? Inside your own head and in the space around you, #tag immerse in your world, environment, and thoughts. Okay, strategy number 1. It says your surroundings, your actual physical space, needs to become your main teacher. The source material really pushes this idea that your environment shapes how you learn language way more than, say, a textbook does. So step 1, turn your home into an English zone.
Yeah, and the first part of that zone is actually internal. It's about tackling that automatic translation habit head on. The key habit here is swapping out your everyday native language thoughts for English ones.
You mean that little voice inside? The one that's always narrating like, okay, what's next? Or, oh, it's raining.
That's the one, exactly. The sources had a good example. Instead of thinking in, say, Hindi, main chai bananja raha hoon, you consciously interrupt that and think, I'm going to make some tea.
Wow, okay.
It feels a bit clunky at first, maybe even artificial.
Yeah, I bet. Sounds exhausting.
It can be initially, but it's about breaking that direct line between the idea and your native word and building a new direct line to the English word. You're trying to stop the brain's default translation pathway.
Okay, I can see how that would rewire things over time, but exhausting.
It gets easier faster than you think. And you can help it along with something physical, something kind of old school but really effective, labeling stuff.
Like sticky notes.
Exactly. Stick notes on things around your house, mirror, chair, table, fridge, phone charger, whatever you see often. Every single time you glance at that object, your brain gets a little ping. Object directly linked to English word. No translation needed.
Using the real world as flashcards. I like it.
Pretty much. It anchors the language in reality.
Okay, so we've tweaked the environment, both internal and external. What about actually using the language? Strategy 2 says English needs to be a daily tool, not some special occasion thing. Stop waiting for the perfect moment.
Right. Don't treat it like fine china you only use for guests.
But what if, you're just chatting with a friend who speaks your language too? It feels weird to suddenly switch entirely to English, doesn't it?
It totally can be awkward. The sources acknowledge that. Forcing a whole English conversation might not always fly. So the advice is actually really smart because it's minimal.
How minimal?
Just slip in one English sentence. You're on the phone planning something, talking in your native language, and you just add, by the way, did you watch that movie? Or maybe, I think that's a great idea.
Ah, okay. So just a little sprinkle.
Exactly. One line. It keeps that English muscle flexed without making the whole interaction weird or forced. Low stakes, high repetition.
And if speaking still feels like too much of a leap?
Then writing comes in. The sources really emphasize writing, specifically like keeping a diary in English. They call it speaking in slow motion.
Speaking in slow motion. I like that.
Because it forces your brain to organize thoughts, choose words, structure sentences, all in English, but without the pressure of instant recall. It builds the foundation for speaking faster later.
So writing is like the practice ground for thinking structure.
Precisely. And to get that thinking speed up, which then helps your speaking speed, they suggest narrating everyday tasks in your head. In English, of course.
Like when you're grocery shopping.
Perfect example. You're walking down the aisle, think, okay, I need to buy bread. How much money do I have? Should I get milk too? Oh, I hope they have that butter I like. Mundane stuff.
But doing it in English.
Doing it in English. It trains your brain to process routine thoughts directly in the target language. So when you do open your mouth to speak, the words are closer to the surface. Less delay.
That makes sense. Which leads us nicely into strategy 3. Self-talk. This feels like the ultimate practice hack because you don't need anyone else.
It's hugely powerful, maybe the most underrated technique. Because like you said, no partner needed. And crucially, zero judgment. Zero fear of making mistakes.
So you just talk to yourself, out loud or in your head?
Either works, but maybe start internally. Just narrate what you're doing. Okay, I'm brushing my teeth now. Got to do it for 2 minutes. Right now I'm getting ready for work. Where's my bag? Super simple sentences.
Low pressure.
Very low pressure. But the benefit is immense. The sources call it building mental fluency. You're practicing forming actual sentences, getting the word order right, choosing the right verb tense, all happening directly in English in your brain.
You're not just drilling vocab, you're practicing communication itself.
Exactly. It's how your brain learns to skip that translation step altogether. It's incredibly effective. #tag smart learning and active application.
Okay, immersion covered. Now, let's talk about learning smarter, not just harder. Strategy 4 really hits hard on a common mistake, just memorizing lists of single words.
Right. The sources basically say that's super inefficient. It's not how language actually works in the real world.
So what's the alternative?
Learn words in context. Always. Specifically, learn them in chunks, in common combinations. The technical term the research uses is collocations.
Collocations, language chunks. Okay.
Yeah. So instead of just memorizing the word appointment, you learn the whole phrase you'd actually use, I have a doctor's appointment tomorrow.
Ah, so you learn the word with its common partners.
Exactly. Because native speakers don't really think word by word most of the time. We pull up these pre-made chunks. Think about it. We say, make a decision, not usually formulate a decision or do a decision.
Right. Or take a break, not have a break necessarily, or do homework.
Perfect examples. Those combinations just sound right. They feel natural. When you learn these collocations, these chunks, your speaking becomes smoother and faster because you're not mentally assembling every sentence from scratch. You're grabbing the whole package.
You start to feel the rhythm of the language, not just the rules.
That's a great way to put it. You internalize the flow.
Okay, moving to how we consume English. Strategy 5. Using entertainment like movies, podcasts, music, but smartly, not just passively watching.
Yeah, this is key. Don't just let it wash over you. You need to actively study it.
Study movies sounds less fun.
Well, maybe a little.
Yeah.
But it's where you get the real stuff. The messy everyday language textbooks leave out. Like how people actually use filler words, you know what I mean? Or contractions like, I gotcha.
The authentic texture.
Exactly. You need that. And the technique they recommend for really absorbing it is called shadow speaking.
Right, shadow speaking. Heard of this. It's intense.
It takes focus, yeah. The method is pretty specific. First, watch a short scene with subtitles in English. Understand what's being said.
Okay.
Second, watch the same scene without subtitles. Try to follow along just by listening. Third, and this is the core part, choose a few lines, maybe from a character you like, and repeat them immediately after the actor says them. Try to copy everything, the words, the speed, the rhythm, even the emotion in their voice.
Copying the emotion. Why is that so important?
Because our brains remember things better when there's an emotional tag attached. If you mimic the actor's excitement or their frustration or sarcasm, you're not just learning words, you're learning the feeling associated with those words and structures. It makes the memory stick much, much better than just reading a grammar rule.
That makes sense. Emotion cements memory.
Totally. It's active, engaging learning using real context-rich language. Way better than boring drills.
Which connects perfectly to strategy 6. Make your English habits fun. If it feels like a chore, you'll quit.
Absolutely. The brain resists boring tasks. Fluency needs to be enjoyable at least some of the time.
So what counts as fun learning?
Well, the sources suggest things like following English meme pages online. You get quick bursts of language, often colloquial, and if you laugh...
Laughing helps you learn.
Apparently, yes. It boosts memory. Or reading short, funny stories, watching entertaining reels or TikToks in English. Quick, engaging, and memorable.
And the other angle is tying it to stuff you already love, right?
Yes. This is huge. Link English to your passions. If you love cooking, watch recipe videos in English. If you're obsessed with cricket, listen to English commentary, even if it's hard at first.
Find that overlap between your interests and the language.
Exactly. When English becomes the vehicle for enjoying your hobby, the learning part feels almost effortless. The motivation is built in. It stops feeling like study.
Okay, strategy 7. This one really jumped out at me from the research. Teach what you learn.
Yes. The master key, they called it.
Even if you're just starting out, you should teach.
Even then. Maybe especially then. You don't need to be a professor. Just sharing one small thing you figured out with a friend or study partner can make a huge difference for your learning.
Okay, explain that. Why does teaching something help you learn it better?
It forces something called effortful retrieval. When you have to explain a concept to someone else, you can't just passively recall it. You have to actively organize your thoughts, simplify the idea, find the right words.
You process it more deeply.
Much more deeply. That whole process of retrieving, structuring, and articulating locks the information into your own brain far more securely than just reading it or hearing it.
So let's say I just learned you say interested in, not interested on.
Right.
I should immediately go tell someone, hey, quick tip. It's interested in.
Yes, do it. That simple act of sharing reinforces it for you. It turns passive knowledge into something active, something you own. Fluency grows fastest when you share it. #tag sustaining the marathon, mindset and measurement.
All right, moving into the final stretch, which is all about the long game, the mindset. Strategy 8 demands a big mental shift. Learn from your mistakes, don't run away from them.
This is probably the biggest hurdle for a lot of people, that fear of messing up. But the sources are really clear. If you're not making mistakes, you're likely playing it too safe. You're not pushing your boundaries. Mistakes are actually evidence of effort. Proof you're trying to build something complex.
Like learning to walk.
Exactly that analogy.
Yeah.
A toddler falls down constantly, right? They don't get embarrassed and give up after the 5th time they stumble. They just get up and try again. That's the mindset we need.
Persistent over perfection.
Absolutely. And the practical shift is this. When you make a mistake, and you will, constantly don't let that inner voice say, oh no, I'm so bad at this.
Reframe it.
Reframe it instantly. Think, okay, interesting. That doesn't sound right. What should I have said? Cool. Learn something new. See it as data, as a learning opportunity, not a failure. Fluency is built on a mountain of corrected mistakes.
Okay, that's a powerful reframe. But staying persistent requires motivation, which brings us to the final point. Strategy 9, track your progress regularly.
Yes, because motivation feeds on seeing improvement. If you feel like you're just spinning your wheels, you'll lose steam.
So how do you track progress in something like Fluency? It feels a bit fuzzy.
Keep it simple. The sources suggest small weekly self-checks. Ask yourself, can I introduce myself a bit more smoothly this week than last week? Can I talk about my day without pausing quite as much to find words?
Little improvement.
Little concrete improvements. And the best tool for seeing this, your own voice.
Recording yourself.
Yes. It sounds cringeworthy to many, but it's so effective. Pick a simple topic, like describe your favorite food or talk about your weekend plans. Record yourself speaking about it for, say, 1 minute.
Okay.
Then a week later, record yourself talking about the same topic again. Don't listen to the first one right away, just do the second recording.
And then compare.
Then compare them side by side. You will hear a difference even in just 1 week if you've been practicing. Maybe fewer ums, maybe slightly faster pace, maybe better word choice. That audible proof of progress is incredibly motivating.
That tangible evidence keeps you going.
Exactly. Because this whole thing, as the sources stress, it's a marathon, not a sprint. Slow, steady, consistent effort, using these habits, that's what wins.
So let's try and wrap this all up. If we boil down everything we've talked about, the big takeaway seems to be, well, fluency isn't really about knowing the most words or mastering every grammar rule.
Not primarily, no.
It's more about building consistent daily habits, connecting with the language emotionally, making it fun, and crucially, being okay with making mistakes.
Yeah.
It's less taught, more lived.
That's it, perfectly. Immersion is the key. Changing your environment, weaving English into your hobbies, shifting your internal monologue. You stop studying English from the outside and you start living inside it.
And when you do that,
When English becomes part of your daily life, part of how you think and feel and react, fluency stops being this distant, difficult goal. It starts becoming just part of who you are, your identity.
which leads us to a final thought for you, the listener, to chew on this week. We talked about fluency becoming part of your identity, about shifting from someone who learns English to someone who is an English speaker. So reflect on this. What's one specific part of your current native language identity, maybe a daily habit, an automatic emotional response, a way you think about something that you feel the most resistance to letting go of, or replacing with an English equivalent?
Ooh, that's a deep one.
Right. Figure out where that strongest resistance lies. Because tackling that specific point might just be the key to unlocking your next big leap in fluency. Think about it.
So, my friend, if you've made it this far, you've already taken a powerful step toward fluency. Because listening till the end means you truly care about your English journey.
Exactly. And remember, fluency doesn't come in one day, but every single day you speak, listen, and think in English, you're moving closer. Step by step. Word by word.
So here's your challenge. Starting today, don't learn English, live English. Use it when you text, when you think, when you talk to yourself. Make it part of your daily life.
And if today's episode inspired you or helped you in any way, hit that thumbs up button to support the journey. Comment speech balloon below with your favorite phrase or the tip you'll start using from today. And subscribe bell to English Speak Pulse for more deep lessons, powerful tips, and real conversations that will take your English from learning to living.
Because this is more than a podcast. It's your daily English experience. And trust me, when you live English every day, fluency becomes unstoppable.
The full episode of this podcast is available right now. So if you want to watch the complete version with more examples and practice ideas, backhand index pointing right, the link is in the comment section below.
Go watch it, take notes, and start speaking with confidence. Because the world doesn't need perfect English. It needs your voice, clear, confident, and alive.